Welcome to All Things Financial with Jack Driscoll. Each week, Jack takes on all things you thought were hard to understand about your finances and makes it fun, easy, but most of all interesting. From insurance to the best way to save your money and squeeze the most out of the dollars you put aside for your rainy day. And now, you have a friend in the money business. Here's your host, Jack Driscoll.
Welcome back again, everyone, to another edition of All Things Financial. What we're doing here is going over a series of what to do if you or your parents need to go into a nursing home. I get asked that question so often. I've been asked many times to do a series on the show about this. And I have to tell you, it's my most difficult area in all of the areas that I deal with in financial planning, and especially retirement planning. It's tough, folks. I thought I had the solutions 25 years ago, actually. I thought the easy solution was long-term care insurance. I got well trained in long-term care insurance back in the 80s. And I thought, hey, just pick the best companies that were out there, the ones that have done this the longest. Everybody needs long-term care insurance. They should buy it when they're age 50 or 55. Done deal. As you know, over the period of time, this long period of time, and you know what else I realized, and I'll get into this later in later shows, but what else I realized was when we buy insurance for long-term care, we're normally buying it when we're younger and healthier because we can't get it by the time we need it. They won't issue the insurance. So we have to buy it when we're younger and we're healthier. Younger, healthier. Younger for long-term care insurance means 55 or 60 years old. And what I thought was, we're not really buying insurance, so I don't care what the companies say they'll pay. I'm really buying a partner. I care, will the person, which to me was the company, that promises me if I go into a nursing home, they'll pay my bills, still be here when I need them 25 years from now. That's what I was after. So I picked the best companies that I could find, et cetera, et cetera. Now, 25 years later, I look and I see most of the companies that were tops at that time aren't even around doing long-term care anymore. They are doing insurance, but they're not doing long-term care insurance anymore. And I think, well, there went that strategy. So what I saw was a very easy solution, but expensive. Turned out to be an extraordinarily difficult area of financial planning for me, which is retirement planning for long-term care, because I don't know exactly how to solve it. So what I did was I went through, well, what are all the different choices families have? You have to choose something, even if that means choose nothing. So I went through the whole series in my mind. There are probably courses on this that you would go to, but they only deal with one segment, like a course on long-term care insurance, which I've been to, or a course on Medicaid planning, which I've been to, or a course on tax planning, how to deduct the expenses of nursing home, or a course on caregivers planning, or the Alzheimer's Association. You know, but it's difficult to try to figure out which of all the different alternatives might be the best, because every family's situations are different. One, you might be single. You might be 85 years old living on your own. Another, you might be married, 75 years old, and have somebody to take care of you. Third, you might be married and have children who are over all the time who can also take care of you. Fourth, you might have someone as a child that's a nurse, and they're well qualified to take care of you with ease, where other of you may have children that are highly successful in different fields. How would you like the engineer taking care of you? You know, or the accountant? How would that work out? Well, maybe not so well as having that nurse. So everybody's circumstances are different. This is a tough area. But over 25 years, because I've seen companies come and go, you'll notice today that I'm going to point out something to you that proves one thing that I've always been saying, because I learned it early, and that is, nothing stays the same forever. Everything changes. And so what I did today was I put on a tie that represents something that has happened recently. And that is that it looks like the United States may again be resuming business with Cuba. Now, what does that have to do with long-term care? It doesn't have anything to do with long-term care. I just decided I wanted to wear the tie today to celebrate that maybe everything changes, everything's cyclical, things come and things go. It might be that we see Cuban cigars back again in the United States, right? So for those of you who smoke cigars, I thought, due to the evolution of time, I might express some celebration for those of you who like to smoke cigars, that you might see Cuban cigars again. But I also wore this tie today to represent that time changes, and that does affect long-term care planning, because what I thought worked 25 years ago doesn't work as well. And now I want you to think through the whole show as you look at this tie. What we couldn't do 20 years ago, we might be able to do now with Cuban cigars. And what we could do 20 and 25 years ago with insurance has changed to where we might not be able to do what we could do then. So I want you to think with every show that I put on, but especially today's, because I wear this tie to represent that, all things change. Change is eternal and change is unavoidable. So with everything that I say today represents actions that we might consider today in planning for events that might never occur or might not occur for the next 20 or 25 years. So everything I say should come with a caveat. It might not work, folks. The world will change between now and then. There will be new alternatives and options available, such as government programs to take care of us if we go into a nursing home. We just had a government proposal 5 or 6 years ago that the government was going to take care of nursing homes. I bet a lot of you didn't know that, but I did know that. I watched that, and it fizzled out. I watched, because we've always heard, the government will take care of us. No, they won't. The government will take care of us. No, they won't. But here it looked like the government was going to take care of us. Well, no, they won't. So that's what I'm bringing out to you. And so while you watch this show with this tie today, remember, all things change. Everything that we're planning on and looking at today is to try to predict what might be the best solution for us far in the future. For some of you, it really is today. Your parents are already in the nursing home or already may need to go into the nursing home, and you're looking for help now. And for others of you, you're married couples and worrying about what if something happens to either one of you over the next 10 to 20 years, what can you do now to protect the other one? And I'm here to help with that. So let's get back into this. I'm only in step 2 of like 8 or 10 of alternatives and solutions in this series on the show. But I'm in step 2, which is the kids will take care of us. And so we went through last week some of the issues, and I want to continue on that today. And what I want to continue on is some parents say we never want to become a burden. So what kind of burden is that? I left off with last week's show, and I'll pick it up again with this week, where this long-term care planning is really health care planning. It's not financial planning. But it affects and impacts financial planning to such a degree that it can wreck financial planning, the other financial plans and planning that we did. Let me give you an example. You'll get a situation where you'll consult your financial planner once you retire and you quit your job, and you'll say, hey, and your financial planner will say, you need to keep your money safe now because we can't afford to lose it. Or you'll say to the financial planner, no, we need to keep our money safe now because we can't afford to lose it. Okay. The financial planner will tell you, we'll better pull back on the risk and we'll make sure to keep it safe so that you can't lose it or lose much, or they'll change your risk tolerances or whatever they do so that it's less exposed to risk of loss. So here you might only earn a very low rate of return on your money potential now because you are adjusting for that risk that you're no longer able to take. And then it comes to the point where one of you goes into a nursing home and blows all your money because you left a huge gap, like I talked about a couple weeks ago. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So here you have everything lined up. Your life insurance is great. Your health insurance is great. Your retirement income's great. Everything's wonderful. Charitable planning. Your wills are done. Everything's wonderful. You have enough car insurance. Your umbrella liability's there. And then you slip on a banana peel at home, knock your head or break your hip. You go into a nursing home. You never come out the same. And your poor spouse at home has to deal with all of the devastation of your assets that were well-intentioned and positioned to provide for the both of you for the rest of your lives. You screwed up. So you have to remember the chain, and every link in the chain needs addressed and identified in its own component and focused on each link, and then you move to the next link to have a truly comprehensive financial plan. And it's not perfect. I can tell you right now, all the links are broken. You just want them as strong as they can be, but they're all broken. None are perfect. So that's what we do. And you're looking at this as, our kids will take care of us. Now, I want to talk to you about that. This might not have anything to do with financial planning. If the kids do take care of you, it might not impact your finances at all. But again, like I ended up last week's show, it might impact their finances. So, if you have a stay-at-home mom who's your daughter, and the kids are grown, and they didn't have a second job, I mean, the husband had a job, the wife had a job, and either your daughter or your son was a stay-at-home dad or a stay-at-home mom, they didn't have a job other than raising the children, which are now raised, you might be in luck. They might be able to come over and now take care of you to keep you at home instead of having to go into a nursing home, which means eliminating the need for your having to spend money on any of your finances getting wasted to a nursing home, and that they're not giving up income or not giving up a job that they needed to rely on for income or retirement planning and can slide right into taking care of you. That might not be a burden or a hardship that either one of you are having too much problem with. Or it may be the other situation. They have to give up a job, but you say, I'll pay you the $40,000 or $50,000 a year from my assets that you were making from your job. I'd rather have you take care of me instead of some other caregiver who I don't know. So you can see how many different alternatives and choices there are. Every family's different. Now, if that's the case, who moves in with who becomes a question. The parents sometimes move in with the kids. Now, do you want to live with your son and their spouse, or your daughter and their spouse and their children? Or do you want the spouse to move in with the daughter or son to move in with you? How do you want this to work? So that's an issue. Believe me, it has financial consequences. Then, another area, there are actually government programs that are available to help if one of your children do decide they're going to become a caregiver. They're going to move you into their house, or they're going to care for you either round the clock or 8 hours a day. Maybe they come from 9 to 5 and then leave. Maybe you only need care 4 hours a day. Who knows? What type of care? Well, let's get into the nitty-gritty. The type of care you're asking them to do. Your memory's failing. You can't remember when you ate. You can't remember to take your medicine. You need help getting dressed. You need help getting bathed, going to the toilet. You need help in all these, even eating. Is that something you want your kids doing? The situation may arise that all of us need that kind of care. No, none of us like it. We don't like that we might be in diapers again. We don't like that. But we can't stop it. If our number is up and it's our number that's going to happen to, I can't stop it. I can try to prepare for, if it happens to me, what consequence do I want that to have on the rest of my family? And what consequence do I want to insulate the rest of my family from having to deal with that if it happens to me? And that's the decision all of us have while we're young and healthy. If you wait too long, you lose a lot of those different alternatives or choices. But that's one of them. Who moves in with who? Do they build on a wing on their house? Again, now we're talking finances. Do you have them move into your house? Again, we're talking finances. So think carefully here if you think it doesn't have to do with financial planning, because in most cases it does. But these government programs that are available to help, and you can email me if you want information on this, there actually is a government program that's available. In some cases it might help where the son or the daughter, who's ever the caregiver, can actually get themselves hired by a licensed organization that hires out caregivers, and your son or daughter could actually be listed to you as their caregiver. So they could actually be hired out to you, and they get paid through this company that's funded by the government. They're getting paid maybe $10 or $12 an hour to provide you the care. So a lot of people don't know about that program. And the other is one of the kids or all of the kids can actually form their own company and then pay a different one of you kids. The one who forms the company can't be the one providing the care, but they can hire the other brothers and sisters and then be self-employed. That's a little stickier because you have all the FICA and the workers' comp and the Social Security and the income tax consequences and legal obligations and all that. But there are government programs. So again, the reason for this show is not to tell you one thing is good and one thing is bad, but to help illuminate and illustrate so many different alternatives are available. Get some help in evaluating each one of these alternatives, not ignoring them for not knowing they exist. So I bring the show on to try to help you hear and see, wow, I didn't know all these different choices even existed. I don't know whether any of them are good for us or bad for us, but I think we need to examine and explore them all, leaving no stone unturned when we're making such these serious decisions on ours or our parents' future. All right, now, who's qualified to help? When you talk about my wife's home to take care of me or my husband's home to take care of me, for you wives listening, be careful. For your husbands listening, be careful. Because what we're asking our caregiver to do in many, many cases is lift us out of the bathtub. And I'm here to tell you, lifting dead weight is hard. So most spouses say, I can't lift them. I can't care for them. I can't dress them. I can't help them get bathed. I need someone younger and stronger. Well, why do you think so many nurses have bad backs? And they are young, and they are healthy, and they are qualified. But it's because they're bending over these beds and lifting and adjusting people in bed so they don't get bed sores, etc., helping them bathe. This is tough work, folks. So don't take this lightly, saying, I have the time as a son or a daughter, I can come in and care for my parent. Or you, both of you retired, saying, I'll care for my spouse. Here's why. No way am I going to let my spouse, my husband or my wife, go into a nursing home. I'm going to promise you I'll keep you at home. That is a tough promise to keep. So while you're healthy, you parents, I want you to think about this, saying, do I want that promise being made on my behalf? Or do I want to say, hey, kids and my spouse, don't ever make that promise to me. If I need to go into a nursing home, you have my permission. I care more about you at that stage than me. I'll deal with it. You've got to get me the best qualified care you know is best for me. And many times, and often, that's not my other family members taking care of me, but it's actually qualified, competent care. Well, that brings up another issue. When you go into a nursing home, we've all been in nursing homes. That's sometimes a very difficult environment for people to be in. So if you're going to make these decisions early or evaluate these, go to some nursing homes. Don't just blindly say, I'll go to a nursing home, or don't put me into a nursing home. Get to a couple of them. I know a lot of you have already been in a couple of them. But that's part of my example on how to evaluate what's going on in this area, because it might happen to you. Now, the 24/7 care. I've seen the cases where the caregiver is in jail, their own jail. You're putting a caregiver in jail. For those of you sons and daughters who say, I'll take care of mom or dad, because if they only need a little bit of care for an hour or two each day, it's usually no problem, except for the inconvenience or convenience of coming over. But boy, when it's round the clock, they can't be left alone. It's rough, because that means 24/7, round the clock, nobody's sleeping. Because mom or dad might wake up at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. In fact, that seems to be peak time. So they're up and about and getting knives out and cooking dinner at 3 o'clock in the morning, cutting themselves or leaving the gas stove on or going out to the store, getting the keys to the car. Come on, folks, this is a rough situation I'm talking about here. And if they need someone to care for them or watch over them, why do you think so many nursing homes with skilled care have locked facilities? They're locked because they recognize some people's condition, like Alzheimer's and dementia, cause wandering. And you'll hear of somebody getting out in the winter, not being properly dressed, and no one can find them. So we don't want that happening to our loved ones. So be very, very careful if we flippantly say we'll take care of mom or dad and we'll sleep over at night so someone's there. It might not do any good if you're sleeping and they wander off. Be careful here. So you might be putting yourselves into a jail that you don't realize, and our parents wouldn't want us in had they realized that when we talked to them when their parents were in their 60s saying, don't ever put me in a nursing home. Now, make sure if you do deal with this, you get a lot of the kids helping if you're lucky. And, you know, there are some agencies that are available that deal in this area of helping in either placement or helping get care at home. The Department of Aging exists. They provide some care at home for caregivers coming 1 or 2 hours a day, 1 or 2 days a week, providing care so the family members don't have to, including the spouse, to give the spouse a break. So you may be able to get some resources and alternatives really available that relief can come in of qualified caregivers to help bathing and dressing through the Department of Aging and through some other agencies. So I deal with some private agencies or know of some, and I may, over different shows, not through this series, bring guests on the show from time to time who are in these agencies to help provide additional advice in some of these areas that I'm talking about. But this wraps up my Stage 2 series on The Kids Will Take Care of Me. So this wraps that one up. Now the third one, which I'll start next show, is, okay, the option of do nothing I did in the first part of this series. My kids will deal with it, are my second. And my third, which I'll start with on the next show, are we're just going to have to spend it if there's any left. So what I'll deal with is self-funding on the next show. If you need to use your own resources, what options are available? How does that work? And can it work if you need to self-fund it? So we'll wrap up today's show with the prelude to next week's show. Will deal with self-funding options and what all alternatives and help are available if you're needing to self-fund the care, which I have so many families also in that stage. So again, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back again next week.
You've been listening to All Things Financial with your friend with the answers to all financial matters, Jack Driscoll of Driscoll Insurance and Financial Services. Securities and investment advisory services offered through Sage Point Financial Incorporated, a registered broker-dealer and registered investment advisor and member FINRA and SIPC. Driscoll Insurance and Financial Services is not affiliated with Sage Point Financial, Inc. or registered as a broker, dealer, or investment advisor. You can reach Driscoll Insurance and Financial Services Incorporated at 412-833-1500, and they are located at 2738 South Park Road, Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, 15102.